Alright then, people. We've got a lot of class abilities to talk about for the Magus and not a lot of time to do it. Let's get rolling. Hello there everyone, welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire, bringing you the next step of our first edition Pathfinder Magus guide. Today we are going to start our look at their class abilities. Now I say start the look because there's actually quite a lot to go over, and not even before we get into the Magus Arcana that you can get access to, and I've had to split this up into two separate videos now, so I hope you will bear with me there. But as I said, there's still plenty to go over, so we're gonna dive into that here. But if you're new here to the channel, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on just such an incredible roster of legendary heroes, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. Now, we're just going to roll right on into this. So, to begin with, for the Magus class features, we're going to take a look at the chassis. You're going to be getting 1d8 hit points per level. Now, it leaves you relatively squishy, but as you advance in level, you unlock the ability to wear heavier and heavier armors, which does offset that quite a bit, especially in comparison to other classes that are getting a d8, such as the Rogue or the Vigilante. Now, you're also going to get 2 skill ranks plus your intelligence modifier per level, and it should be noted that last video I had said 1 skill rank and that had gotten pointed out. It's definitely absolutely an error that needed to be pointed out and corrected, because yeah, having 2 skill ranks, while it's still, it's not much better than 1, it still is much better than only having 1, especially with the array of skills that you have to choose from in front of you. Now, when it comes to your saves, you're going to get a poor reflex save, but you have a good fortitude and will saving throw as well. Now, given that you're going to have a good dexterity score, that does offset the poor reflex save, and the fact that you get a good will save does offset the fact that we are going to have a lower wisdom score. So, all the way around, you're not looking too terrible here, but it's not perfect either. You're also getting a good attack bonus progression, +0 at first level, +1, +2, +3, +3, with your attack bonus progressing in that fashion. You're also going to be proficient with all simple and martial weapons, as well as light armor starting out. As we said, as you advance in level, you're going to unlock heavier armors. Now, the reason why light armor is rated as kind of okay or great is because it depends on how you're going to focus your build. If you're really going to be pumping up your dexterity score, then sticking with light armor is actually going to work out alright, because that's going to allow you to use the maximum amount of dexterity bonus that you are building up. Whereas if you're going to leave it mostly where it's at and maybe lean more into your intelligence, then going into medium or even heavy armor is probably going to suit you a lot better, depending on the kind of armor that you're able to get. Now, you also are a spellcaster, using your intelligence score as your spellcasting stat, and must have a score equal to 10 plus the spell level to cast. Save DCs for spells are 10 plus the spell level plus your intelligence modifier. You're a prepared spellcaster with 2/3 spell progression, moving up to 6th level spells as your maximum. Your spellbook is what you prepare spells from, and you can learn from scrolls or other books, meaning raiding other wizards or other prepared spellcasters, like another Magus, for example, will be absolutely something worth its more than double its weight in gold. It's going to advance your flexibility in what you're able to do, though you are still going to be a combat-focused caster. Now, getting into the abilities accompanying this overall chassis here, at first level we have Arcane Pool. As a swift action, spend 1 point from the Arcane Pool, which is a total of 1/2 your level plus your intelligence modifier. Minimum of 1 at first level, so if you're following this guide with a 16 intelligence, you have a +3 modifier, so you are going to have 4 points total. And this will let you give a weapon you're holding a +1 enhancement bonus for 1 minute. That duration is going to be pretty nice at early levels, but as you advance, that's actually going to start to hurt because you could be looking at multiple combats and be having to really space out that usage or try to plan it out as best you can. So finding ways to increase that duration, which we'll get to later, is going to be very important for you. Or, even if you're not facing multiple conflicts, if you're facing an extended conflict that is lasting for multiple minutes, then this is also really going to hurt you. Every 4 levels after first, you gain another +1 enhancement modifier to this ability for a maximum of +5. These bonuses stack with a weapon's existing bonuses, up to a +5 enhancement total, which is normally what weapons cap out at. At 5th level, a Magus can add the following enchantments. Technically, they are also enhancements, but that gets a little bit confusing going back and forth. These each count as an enhancement bonus, and you look up the respective enchantments, and they'll tell you what their enhancement bonus cost is. You have Dancing, Flaming Burst, Frost, Icy Burst, Keen Shocking Burst, Speed, or Vorpal. Now, Flaming and Flaming Burst, why do I rate those as kind of okay? It's because fire resistance and fire immunity are the 2 most common types in the game. You run into more fire immune creatures and fire resistant creatures, and this is before you get into reflex saves or anything else that might be at play there that helps to overcome this. It actually really degrades the amount of damage that it does. And Dancing and Vorpal weapons, Dancing is not super relevant a lot of times, and Vorpal is about chopping heads off, if you know the stories of the Vorpal blade going snicker-snack. And there are a lot of creatures that are immune to critical hits and thus would not really be vulnerable to Vorpal blades, such as golems and several kinds of undead, but again, just kind of depends a little bit. But the reason why these aren't rated as badly as they might normally be is because you have flexibility in when you can apply these. However, Keen, the Shock or Shocking Burst or Speed are probably going to be mainstays, whereas Frost and Icy Burst definitely more useful than Flaming, but they're pretty common resistances and immunities as well. So the fact that you have flexibility with this, very much so in your favor. Now, the weapon must have a +1 enhancement modifier to apply these other enchantments. The enhancements only work for the Magus, and only one weapon may be enhanced this way at a time, so no dual wielding this normally. So that's definitely something you need to pay attention to. You can't throw down this enhancement from your arcane pool and then toss the weapon over to your paladin buddy and keep it going. That's not going to happen. Next, we have Spell Combat, also kicking in at 1st level. The Magus must have one free hand and have a light weapon in the other, so short swords, daggers, rapiers, whips. They may cast spells that use one standard action while fighting, taking a -2 penalty to all attacks. On a full round attack, if casting defensively, they may take an additional penalty on attack rolls up to their intelligence bonus and add that as a circumstance bonus to the concentration check. And that circumstance bonus is nice because that's going to allow it to stack with other sources that may be at play here. I don't know that there's a lot necessarily, but this will be very nice to have for those situations where other bonuses do come into play. You must decide to either cast first or attack first. No casting between attacks, so if you're in the unique situation of, well, maybe not all that unique, of having multiple attacks, you can't hit, cast, hit. It has to be cast, hit, or hit, cast. Now, something to keep in mind here is if the spell fails, if you fail to hit or if you fail on your concentration check to cast the spell, all of your attacks are still going to be taking that same penalty regardless, whether it's the -2 or the -5 that you take throwing in your intelligence modifier on top of it. Now, coming into second level, we have Spell Strike. When casting a touch spell, the Magus can channel the spell into a melee weapon they're wielding, making one free melee attack at their highest base attack bonus as part of casting. If a Spell Strike is used as part of spell combat, all the usual penalties are going to apply. On a crit, the spell damage is multiplied by 2, while the weapon uses its own crit multiplier. So if you have a weapon with a ×3 multiplier, that weapon damage and all associated damage with that will get multiplied by 3. The spell that you channel through it, such as Shocking Grasp, which is a very popular option for good reason, is only going to be doubled. It's not going to be tripled. Then we move on to Magus Arcana at 3rd level. Gain 1 Magus Arcana, adding another every 3 levels after. A Magus Arcana cannot be selected more than once or used to modify spells that aren't on the Magus spell list unless otherwise noted. And Magus Arcana, not all of them are created equal, hence why this is listed as really great or really kind of bad. It just depends a little bit. But again, some situations may make certain arcana more useful than they might otherwise initially be listed as. So definitely think about things, play around a little bit as you build your character. 4th level, you are going to get Spell Recall. It's a swift action to recall any one Magus spell already cast by using a number of arcane pool points equal to the spell level. Now that sounds really useful except for 2 things. 1, this is using a swift action, which your arcane pool ability is already doing. So you are going to be really starting to eat into your own action economy pretty consistently. You're going to want to pay attention to this. That said, Spell Recall is going to be more situationally useful. This could probably be rated a little bit lower, honestly, because you have to burn a number of arcane pool points equal to the spell level. So if you're trying to recall a 2nd level spell, you are using up 2 of your points. And remember, you only gain a number equal to 1/2 your level plus your intelligence modifier. So by 4th level, that's 2 points for your Magus level, and then 3 for your intelligence modifier. So you have 5 arcane pool points that could be going towards enhancing your weapon. And if you're choosing to recall a 2nd level spell, you're eating almost half of your points there. That's half of your combat ability gone. That's a pretty big decision to make, and it better damn well be worth it to spend those points to recall a single spell. But moving on from there, we come to bonus feats, kicking in at 5th, 11th, and 17th level. You gain a bonus feat drawn from the combat, item creation, or meta magic feats that you meet the prerequisites for. Now, overall, I'd say you're probably going to be better off leaning into either combat or meta magic feats, depending on what exactly you want to do. Although if I were to pick, I would say probably combat over meta magic. Not that meta magic isn't useful, it's just you're a 2/3 spellcaster, you're only going up to 6th level spells, you only have so much room that you can boost spells with. That said, some meta magic will be useful for you, so it's definitely something to think about. Like I said, plan it, play with it a little bit, maybe see if your DM is willing to let you kind of experiment a little, especially if you're new or this is your first time running a Magus, because because there's so many different ways to build this class, you could be kind of overwhelmed with choice or maybe a little bit uncertain as to what will mesh or blend together effectively. Hopefully this guide should help resolve that for you or give you a little bit of insight of what to look for. Next, we have Knowledge Pool, coming in at 7th level, our first really bad ability. When preparing spells, the Magus can spend 1 or more points from their arcane pool, up to their intelligence bonus for each point spent. And they can prepare a spell from the Magus spell list as if it were in their book, and this can pair with Spell Recall. Do you see why this is bad? So, spending 1 or more points from their arcane pool up to their intelligence bonus. So if you're following this guide and haven't boosted your intelligence in any way, you're looking at 3 points right there that you can spend. Now, Is that 3 points, up to 3 points at the end of the day that you haven't spent, or do these count against the next day's allotment? I would say points that you haven't spent, which that's a risky call, because if you're attacked or interrupted in the night and you need to really make sure your combat ability is up at top notch, and you kind of do, considering you're in an ambush or you're being attacked at night when the party's resources are already drained, doing this can drain them further. Not only that, this is spells that are on your spell list. You can learn those from scrolls and books, unless you're really out in an area where you cannot pick up anything new, prepare anything new. It's such an incredibly situational kind of thing. It's not something that should be coming up all that often. Overall, this is a pretty bad ability, really limited in its use, and while I would say I would rule and I would figure that this is going to use whatever arcane pool points you have at the end of the day, that's still already a hindrance, even if you're just using up points and nothing bad happens. This is an ability that's dependent on you not making full use of your abilities throughout the day, so you're planning on hindering yourself to a certain extent. It's really not good all the way around, unless you somehow know you're looking at very easy combats. But this is just the start. There are still plenty more abilities to go over, because next we're staring down the pipe of getting improvements to the kind of armor you can wear, improvements to your spell combat abilities, plenty of other things coming down the line here. But what do you think? Go on down to the comments below, let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? How do you like the breakdown of the class abilities so far? Is there anything that's confusing or you want me to go back over? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'll do my best to address everything, break things down, and definitely take your suggestions to heart and try to improve the quality of my work in the future. And remember, hit those like or dislike buttons and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. But with that said, thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.